So the end of the year is the best time to really look at your business and make key changes for the following year. And I had some plans to do something with my secondary store, and I think I've changed my mind. And I'm going to talk to you about the changes that I will be making with my business on eBay on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. We are almost at the beginning of 2024, just a couple days away by the time this video is posted. And I've taken the last few days to really reflect on what I'm trying to do on my eBay business pertaining to both of my stores. So you have my main store that is, we achieved about $130,000 in sales. Now that's sales, that's not profit, but that's sales. That's what eBay collects from the buyer. That's the price of the item, shipping, and taxes. And then after everything's said and done, I'm probably sitting about a 50% margin on that account. And then I have my secondary account, which has always been more of an experimental account, or my clearance store, where initially last year, back in February, I had about 900 items in my main store. And I decided, you know what, I've got a lot of low ticket, low ASP items that I've been trying to sell for many months, and in some cases over a year. Get those items and move them to the secondary store and just clear the space in my main store for the higher ASP, higher ticket items, and that's worked well for me. But on my secondary store, I've made some sales here and there, and I've spent time here and there just trying to maintain that store. Jen has helped me with it, but I have her more doing like shipping and cross-posting more so than taking care of that account. So I find myself throughout last year taking care of that clearance store, running experiments, doing all kinds of things. And the thought going into December was, let's find a niche. So you guys know I like sports, so anything that has to do with sports, I was going to pretty much put into that store, and let's just see how it goes. Now, the more and more I thought about the secondary store, and the more I thought about the one goal that I want to achieve next year, and that is to maximize my time, set more of a regimented schedule, and just maximize the time during the day instead of being distracted. Well, I think part of the distraction is running a secondary store, and even as minimal as that was, that time that I spent, it's attention diverted away from my main account. So if my intention is to improve upon the improvements that I made in 2023 and make my main account an even stronger account, well, maybe it's time to just nix the idea for now. Maybe I'll change my mind in a year or whatever, but it's time to close my secondary store. And what that means is, where I've been going through my inventory, as you can see here, it's a hot mess out in my garage, and it's not organized by any means because I pulled a lot of this stuff off the racks, found that many of the items were not listed, and I now have to go through all this merchandise and either put it in bins for the yard sale and or figure out if some of the stuff is worth lotting, because it's not selling on its own, so I need to lot it up. And in doing all this, I realized that there just wasn't enough solid merchandise to even start a niche store. Now, yes, I'm able to go out to yard sales, and maybe my liquidator, I can find things within the sports category. But in my mind, it's just that idea of, is the juice worth the squeeze? And in this particular case, it's a fun thought. It's a fun to maybe to get into something that you're interested in and try to sell it. But for me, if I'm really being serious with myself, I think streamlining in 2024 is probably the better path for me. And I'm not saying for you, but if that's something that you need to do for your business, by all means, it's something to consider. If things were better with the economy, things were booming, then maybe. But I want to focus all my efforts on my bread and butter, and that is my main account. And I really think that in doing so, I can take some of these items from the secondary account, things that I do feel like there is value in, and move them over, even if they're smaller ASP items or lower ASP items. And the other stuff is just going to go in a bin, and we're going to have a yard sale sometime in the spring when our community has one, and just liquidate it that way. And I think sometimes there's nothing wrong with making a plan. Of course, you need to have a plan. If you don't plan, you're just setting yourself up for, I think, chaos, because you don't really have anything that you're driving towards. So my initial plan was to sell within a niche on the second account, but I think the wiser play here would be to simply cut my ties on the second store. I mean, I'm not going to have a second store to run experiments and things like I used to run, but that's okay, because, you know, of course, the channel, I'm going to still, of course, provide you content on the channel with my observations and stuff like that, but it's always eBay first for me. My business is first before YouTube or anything else. And so for me, it's about, let's strengthen the main store where I pay my bills. And if I'm trying to save some time during the day to where I can spend time with my wife and do the things that we used to do, I really think that I need to cut not only the distractions, which is definitely something I'm working on, and it's going to happen, but I think just maintaining one account instead of dealing with the secondary store is also going to benefit me as well. And I think a lot of times we just have to really sit down and think about what we are trying to do. And I did that last night, looking through the merchandise. It just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for me to say, hey, I want to hang my hat on this niche, on this second store, and make it work. I just currently don't have enough merchandise to make it make sense. And maybe in the future that'll change. But for now, I think if we're really being honest with ourselves and we're really selecting one thing that we want to fix, we really need to put our efforts into making that happen. And this is part of that. So want to know down below, have you really thought about your business, and what are you doing about it? And this kind of is an extension of what I was talking about in a previous video, where, you know, take one thing and really put that change into play next year, and thinking about how you're going to achieve that and the steps you're going to need to take to put that plan into action. It might require you to do some things that you really aren't all that comfortable in doing, and that for me is closing the second account. But I think in the long run, I'm going to be a little more streamlined. I'm going to have more time. Maybe that means more time to make videos, but also more time for Jenna, more time for things that I think those of us who are kind of workaholics, kind of take for granted, and that's just the time we have left. So I want to know what you guys think down below, but making tough decisions is yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you to have an excellent new year, and we will talk to you in 2024. Take care, guys.